So after around a 5 or 6 hour bivvy, I continued. I was almost at the top, so there was a short ascent to continue up. I got to the top of the range and went across. It was kind of just starting to become daylight as I came through there, so it was actually quite a nice view. The weather had warmed up a little bit, so it wasn't too bad. And then from there, it was on towards the little village of Ophir. So Ophir, we had to pass through. There wasn't much there other than a Iditarod dog sled race checkpoint. So as far as I was aware, that was just going to be a warm tent and a place where we could get some hot water, maybe have a feed, sort of just make sure that we're ready to go and then go on. Because from Ophir to the next checkpoint at Cripple, it was around about 70 odd miles. So, and the checkpoint at Cripple was just a tent in the middle of nowhere. And then from there, it was another 70 something miles to actually hit the village of Ruby. So went downhill. The going was pretty easy. An overcast day, which traps a little bit of the heat. The trail wasn't too bad because it was actually following a road, so it was just a snow-covered road. There was a little bit of snow machine traffic, a couple of people to talk to, and one of the actual villagers from Ophir that came through on snow machine stopped, had a bit of a chat, and actually offered use of his cabin, invited us in, because there was a couple of us spread out over sort of 2 or 3 miles, invited us in for a cup of tea if he was there, or come in, have a rest, boil some water, that sort of thing. He said if it wasn't there, it's your use. So the villagers have been really good. He also said that once we get through Ophir, it's nothing. He said that there's 130 miles, 140 miles are pretty much nothing. He said that there was a sheltered area under some rocks where we could get out of any wind or snow. That was probably around about 18 miles out of Ophir. He said that that's probably the best place to bivvy for the night, because we certainly weren't going to make the shelter cabin that was further along. The prediction for weather did have a fair bit of snow, so getting out of that and getting a bit of shelter was something that kind of did intrigue my interest. So that was where I was going to aim to get to. So as I was going along, I got to the checkpoint at Ophir, which was just a little cabin with some tents set up, and I was kind of waiting for the first crews to come through, or the first teams to come through from the Iditarod, which were probably still about a day and a half, 2 days away. So I got there. There wasn't really much there. I was able to replenish my fresh water, a little bit of hot water, but not much, and I was able to eat one of my dehydrated meals or my camp meals, because it was around about lunchtime when I got there. So I sort of rested up for a little bit. I didn't want to take too long because it was pretty basic and there was a few people there. So I kind of got what I needed done and then got out of there, and then sort of started heading off. Towards the afternoon, it sort of snowed a little bit, and you're kind of going along the trail, and then it hits the point where you either take the northern route or the southern route. So it's kind of literally a 90-degree right-hand turn or a 90-degree left-hand turn. So we're on the northern route this year. So as we came along, the southern route was blocked off. Take a right-hand turn. There's no real signage. You just know that it's there, and you've got a GPS track, so you understand that you're on track. Literally the second that I took the right-hand turn, the trail turned to shit. So it was a lot of snow, or much more snow. Kind of tried to persist in shoes for about 2-3 miles, but it was just getting too soft. So I was into snowshoes for the first time, and then slowed progress right down, which was kind of, after having some pretty easy trail, it was kind of disheartening, to be honest. I just didn't want to go through that. But the reality is that I've actually been pretty lucky to this point. So rather than being upset, I should have actually been a little bit grateful that the trail had been so good. So anyway, I pushed on. The wind started picking up as it got dark. It started to get a little bit of wind, or a fair bit of wind. We sort of started chasing terrain. So I was going along looking for this shelter. It hit 15 miles, 16 miles, 20 miles, or up around 18 miles. I was like, all right, I've likely passed it and not seen it, or it's not out here. So, or it's different. It looks different to what I'm expecting to see. So I got to the point where I was tired. I couldn't be bothered chasing ground. It might be over the next hill, around the next corner, but I'm not going to chase it for 2 miles. So I just looked for a spot where I was in a little bit of shelter where I could bivvy. Again, set out my sleeping gear, set everything up, took a little bit of time to reset myself, and made sure I was good to go when I woke up in the morning. So it wasn't a massively productive day, because I'd only really covered about 34 miles. So from when I woke up, it was 16 miles down into Ophir, and then from there I'd covered about 18 miles of trail, so which is about all up about 55 or 54 kilometres. So not the greatest day. It slowed down a little bit in the snow, but again, I was still moving forward. And I was kind of working out how I was going to tackle the next 120 miles of nothing. I knew there was 2 shelter cabins which I wasn't going to hit during the night time, and the checkpoint at Cripple, I wasn't too sure when I was going to hit that. So I was trying to work out where I was going to sleep, or whether I'm going to be bivvying for the next 4 or 5 nights. So probably not my greatest day, but again, moving forward, still trying to recover from the poor sleep in McGrath and set myself up so I can hit the Yukon ready to go.